Now, let's talk about basic package deployment and how we can use a pipeline to move packages through our different stages and environments. Now, although there's a bit of a mindset shift required when using packages for your own applications and components, the deployment process is largely the same, and it's probably a concept you're already familiar with. Packages are deployed and tested through what's called a delivery pipeline. A package deployment pipeline allows you to build a repeatable release process by defining the servers and environments that your packages will be deployed to. They also define manual and automatic approvals required at each stage of the process. You also can use deployment windows to control when the package can be deployed into a particular stage. And they also offer a lot of flexibility. Well, consider, for example, a basic web application. A package for that might only be a pipeline with two stages, testing and production, and a simple deploy to a different folder on the same server. Another package, however, may require a dozen stages, each with multiple server targets that go to different environments and all sorts of automatic and human approvals along the way to meet various compliance standards. Now, let's take a look at how we can do a basic package deployment using Hedgehog. So this is Hedgehog, and you can see right off the bat we're looking at the packages that are available for us to deploy. These are stored in things called a package source, which is actually pointing to a feed inside of ProGet. We've mapped two package sources from the two different feeds that I set in ProGet, and you can see that the packages here directly correspond to the packages inside of ProGet. And you see when we click on a package over here, we're taken directly to that package inside of ProGet. This allows us to see a lot more of the package deals between the two pieces of software. Hedgehog also has a few other important concepts to talk about. Let's take a look at the pipeline that I set up. It's called a simple package deployment, and you can see that it has three stages: integration, testing, and production. And at each stage it runs a deployment plan called deploy accounts to the accounts web servers in the integration environment. It runs the same plan for testing and then the same plan for production servers. So let's take a look at what this plan is. In Hedgehog, a plan is a sequence of operations and steps that are used to control how a package is deployed. All of the statements and operations are done on the left-hand side. You can see that there's a lot of options for a lot of different things that you can do. You can also install all sorts of extensions that allow you to control and work with different technologies as well. But in here, we've just got some very basic operations configured. What's nice about Hedgehog is that it has a nice drag and drop interface. You can take any of these operations and just drag them onto the editor and start filling in any of the options over here. You can see that a lot of these operations are things that you're probably already familiar with. In this case, let's take a look at the first operation called Ensure Accounts App Pool. What this is doing here is it's making sure that we have a particular application pool configured on the server that this is run on. And what you can see if you're familiar with IIS is that it has all of the same tabs that you might be familiar with inside of IIS to let you control all of the different options in an application pool. In this case, we're doing some very, very trivial and simple application, and that's basically just ensuring that this account's application pool exists, it has this particular version, and that it's stopped. After that, we're deploying the package contents and then restarting the application pool. What's great about this technology, our plan editor, is that it uses AutoScript. AutoScript is a very simple and easy to use language that allows us to go back and forth between a visual and text mode. For example, if I wanted to start changing parameters on our plan, I can do that in text mode. In fact, I can just simply move things around as much as I want, and it will be, I'll put in some notes here, it will be instantly reflected as soon as I switch back to visual mode. Here's the changes here, and like that. Any changes I make in either visual or text mode are going to always be reflected in both text and visual mode. This makes it really easy to learn how to use OtterScript without having to study and constantly refresh and learn the syntax. Now, I won't save the changes to this, but you can see how easy it is to use. And I'll note that when you do save changes, all of these are stored in a versioned plan repository that you can even store in Git. So any of these text changes that you're making, you can always see who made them and easily roll back to previous versions. So the last thing I wanted to show you in Hedgehog here was how we take a package and move it through a pipeline. So I'm going to go back to the packages here, and we're going to take this one package here called Accounts Web 1.5.0, and I'm going to add it to a deployment set. A deployment set is the thing that moves packages through a particular pipeline. So in here, I'm going to create a new deployment set, and when we do that, we can give it a name, select a release, but I need to choose the pipeline that I would like to use for this set of packages. In this case, we'll use a simple package deploy. So we'll create our deployment set. It will create deployment set number 8, add this package, add this version, and from here we can add any number of other packages into this set as well. You can see we can also add variables to this package set. These will be used in our deployment plan, and the variables inside the packages are also passed to the deployment at runtime as well. We can easily add any number of other packages to our set as well. Deploying packages is really simple. Once we have our deployment set created, it's associated with the pipeline, and all we have to do is follow the pipeline stages and deploy. You'll see that Hedgehog automatically imported all of the variables already that are inside of the package. We can change these, but the idea is that these are package variables and are used to express the developer's intent. This just shows you what is going into the deployment plan. When you hit deploy, what Hedgehog is doing is it's going to run a deployment against all targets. In this case, you can see it's running roll against our accounts web and very quickly finishing out the deployment. Now there's a very simple deployment, and in this case it's a single roll deployment to accounts web. We can also deploy this to test, and what it's going to do is deploy to all servers associated with that role in the test environment. And again, Otter is going to do the same thing. It's going to spin up deployments for each of the targets in the pipeline and deploy those off to those environments. The deployments happen really quickly, so I want to show you what the execution logs actually look like. You can see that they're very easy to start navigating, and you can see debug. If we had warnings, we would see them in yellow, and of course errors would be in red. You can also hide some of the debug text for users that don't have appropriate privileges in case they have sensitive information. It's very easy to export the log or view it in a more text format if that's easier. And finally, when you deploy a package to production, the package is considered release, and like that, your release is complete. It's all very simple and straightforward to deploy packages to production.